Good morning, everyone. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. I hope you're having a really great Tuesday morning. Let's jump in and talk about the newest episode from Teen Mom OG, which I know not many of you are watching because literally the ratings are in the toilet. It's not even a joke. They were, I think, around 600,000 last week for all of the episode, or for the episodes. So I watched it for your enjoyment. I took my notes, and I hope you enjoy my recap. I do some impersonations. It might annoy you. If you want something without impersonations, I'm not the girl for you. Before we get started, make sure you give me a thumbs up so you know, so I can see the love on my videos. And we'll talk about Father Day Follies, which is going to reintroduce Mackenzie McKee back to you guys after being away for a while. You'll remember that she was part of the Teen Mom, or the 16 and Pregnant world, and then she actually was on Teen Mom 3 with Brianna De Jesus and some other people that nobody remembers. And she is back with her dramatic relationship that really hasn't gotten any less dramatic, and her mother, who is battling breast cancer. Okay, so let's get started. So this episode actually starts in Michigan. Is that where? Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, Michigan, where Tyler and Kate are. That's where they live, right? Yep. Michigan. All right. So this episode starts in Michigan with Kate and Tyler. They are at their property, and Kate is with her horses. Now, I think that if Janelle Eason wanted to take some notes about what actual homesteading might look like, they might want to check out the property that Kate and Tyler own, because they actually have a barn. They have fences that actually look like fences. They have chickens, and they have horses, and they have a lot of acreage, which is quite different than the sketchy, low income, on a budget Craigslist homesteading that she does. So too bad she can't actually have a relationship with anybody. So Kate is getting on her horses. They talk about the abnormal situation of the adoption, placing them with Teresa and Brandon. Tyler actually talks about how, you know, if he could have done things differently, they might not have picked Teresa and Brandon, because they didn't really know much about these people and didn't realize they would be so uppity and uptight. He said he might have considered, knowing what he knows now, placing her with maybe some more laid back parents, more like themselves, but you can't change anything. But then he also lamented that, you know, this hasn't been very normal. They didn't really expect that they would still be on TV for 10 years. And so for his case, for that sort of case of it, he did say that he kind of understood from their perspective why they might not want her on TV. Caitlyn gets on the horse, rides around. Nova's jumping around. Interestingly, at one point, the producer is talking to Kate, and you can see some smoke coming up. So it's clear that Caitlyn is still smoking. Please quit smoking, Caitlyn. It is the leading cause of lung cancer. We don't want you to die young, honey. All right? I was actually surprised they would even show that on camera, and it was pretty clear that they were trying not to show her because they kept focusing on the producer, even though Kate was talking. She asks her if they've talked to about the adoption with Nova, and she's like, nope, we haven't really, because she's so young and she won't get it. Now, flash forward to Los Angeles, we get to Cheyenne, and she and Matt are talking about Father's Day, and they're talking about how she's going to take Corey out, but they're not going to bring Matt, and she's eating like a bomb pop, and she's like, it's just so great, you're such a good boyfriend. And he's all, I texted Matt, and then she's all, you did? Or she's like, I texted Corey, and she's like, you did? Why'd you text Corey? And then she goes and meets Corey, and they have breakfast, and they talk about how they don't bring their significant others because they've literally been in the child's life for 2.32 seconds. And they discuss how everything would be really weird, but how supportive their partners are. Now, back to, I don't even know where Mackenzie lives, to be honest, somewhere in the South. Mackenzie, somewhere in the South, United States. Anyways, she is reintroduced to the group, and she's all like, a lot has changed in my life since I've been around. And then it shows like clips from her when she was back on 16 and pregnant. And like, remember when she put on her like cheerleading outfit and her whole stomach hung out. She's like, we've been unfaithful. We got back together. We've been separated. We're getting back together. My mom has cancer. We're going to exploit the F out of that for the final 2 episodes. And then we're reintroduced to Josh, who's still a dirtbag out on the road, being a rodeo star. He's gone a lot. She and Josh sit down. She tells him that the kids are really wild and crazy when he's not around, and he says that the kids mind him better. And then Josh goes and talks to some guy that's in a garage because, in the South, in these parts of the country, actually they do it here. They're all sitting in the garage. I'll never understand the whole sitting in the garage stuff, but they're sitting in the garage, and Josh is like, there's lots of cheating in the rodeo, so it's hard, like gone from your kids and your wife for a long time, and a lot of the guys are like cooking up with other women. And then the man is just like, that's going to make it really hard for Mackenzie to trust you. That's why you have to be faithful. It didn't really sound all that convincing that he was not cheating on Mackenzie. Okay, so Amber is literally only on this show for about 30 seconds in this because guess what? Amber doesn't have custody of any kids. So she's talking to Andrew about how Leah wants to go on Instagram, but then she's like, I don't know, like she's on the couch because that's what she does. So Amber's like directly in her couch, and she's just like all snuggled in there, and she's like talking about how Instagram might not be the best choice for Leah because she's been on TV and she wants her to have some more privacy, and she wants her to not have to deal with some of the crap that she's dealt with. And then Andrew says, well, maybe we can make it like an anonymous profile, and we can like set it up as and her screen name could be Daisy Duke 29, and he's like and then she laughs and she's like, we're not gonna do that name, no, gross. And he was like, I know, it was a joke. And then he said, well, we can go set it up now. And she's like, no, like I have to talk to Gary first. And then she's like, I just want Leah to be normal because she's on TV and stuff. And I just think if she has Instagram, it'll be normal. Leah's 10, by the way. All right. So now back to Tennessee. We're going to talk to me. Oh, actually, this is the first time we haven't been to Tennessee yet. It's Maci. All right. So she's out like watering the plants with her daughter Jade. And Jade is like actually super cute. And Jade's like, Mama, I want to be a farmer. And so she's like, oh, honey, we could do that. We can go get some plants and we can go get some stuff. And Jade's like, but Mama, I need some farmer clothes. Seriously, why didn't I have a girl? Anyways, now they go inside, and the producer is actually kind of poking and prodding at her, asking her if anyone from Ryan's camp has reached out to her about Bentley and seeing Bentley on Father's Day. She says no. She says that Bentley has to go to a baseball game. She says she's like, and then the producer's like, well, if they asked you to go like after, maybe like if they just wanted to see him and they asked you maybe on Friday, would you be okay with that? Almost like, the producer was going to like plant that in their head. It was really annoying. Actually, you could totally tell what they were doing. And she was like, nope, I wouldn't change it because Bentley has plans and I'm not changing our lives. And I'm not changing his lives because they don't have the courtesy to give us a couple weeks notice. I agree with you, Maci. Good job. Now they go to Cheyenne back in Los Angeles. She goes bowling. Matt has, Corey has the kid. Corey sits down with his side piece, Taylor, and they start talking about how maybe one day they'll all get together and hook up. And I still don't believe sincere. They start talking about how, maybe one day they can go to dance recitals together and have dinner together. But right now it's just really awkward. Why, Taylor? Is it because you've only literally been in this child's life for 32 seconds? I don't know. Anyways, Corey then asks her if she might be comfortable spending time with Cheyenne. She says, nope, because you guys have a past. Seriously, Taylor, when you marry or when you start getting involved with someone who has a kid and a baby mama, you can't bring your jealousy to the door. It's what you signed up for. All right, now back to Mackenzie, back somewhere in the South. She gets a text from a friend, and she's talking to another friend, and it's from her husband's So it's from Josh's friend's wife. Okay. So it says, so the text message says, I'm your husband's friend's wife. And she explains to her that her husband and Josh went to a bar and they met some women, and her husband invited this woman over to her house, over to a hotel room to hook up with her. And she doesn't know whether or not Josh was involved in it or if Josh had another woman with him. But she wanted Mackenzie to know that Josh might be up to no good. And then she's like, Mackenzie's convinced that Josh is cheating on her because literally Josh always cheats on her. So I don't know why she's beginning to think that Josh is cheating on her. Like, when hasn't Josh cheated on her? I think that was like one of their most common themes in their storyline. Anyways, she says that it would really hurt her now because they are really rock solid now. Because before, when he cheated on her, it was never really like based on rock solidness. It was always related to, they were taking breaks. They were on a break, as Ross would say. All right. Now, they both cheated on each other, she said. That's what she told her friend. All right. And then they go back to Michigan with Kate and Tyler, and they're talking about Father's Day, and she gives her dad a gift, which, by the way, it's nice to see her dad show up every once in a while. Then they go pick up a cake for Carly for her 10th birthday, and then she's like in the car with Nova, and she's telling her about how they're going to go get the cake for Carly, and then they start talking about Carly's birthday party, and she's like, and Nova's like, and I can eat some cake? I will share with Carly. Is Carly going to come? Oh, she's not going to come? Well, I'll eat some cake for Carly, and I'll give some to the toys. Seriously, can I just package Nova up and just send her to Minnesota? That little girl is seriously so adorable. Even if she's kind of slightly bratty, that little girl is so cute. Okay, so don't ever say that I don't say anything nice about these kids. She's cute. All right, then they go to then we're back to Tennessee. And Maci and her kids are getting ready for Father's Day. They make a card for Taylor. The kids all say something cute, and then they go to a baseball tournament, and that's all that happens in Tennessee. Then they get to the baseball, and then they're over at Ryan's house, and Ryan is mysteriously not there, and it's just Jen and Larry, Len and Jerry. It's Jen and Larry and Mac Truck, or Stage 5 Klinger, talking about the baseball game, and they're all like, we're going to go on Saturday, and she's like, oh, we're going to go on Sunday, and then Jen's like all talking to Jagger, and she's like, beep, 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 oh, it's your first Father's Day with Ron, beep, 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 and then that's it. Literally, that's all that happens, and that they're going to ask Maci to take Bentley the same night that they see her. All right. Then we get to Amber's house, and she calls Gary to talk about Leah's Instagram. On the conversation, Amber pretends like she's a super involved mom, which we all know is a lie. She is not. And she says, she calls Gary, and she's like, well, do we do this? Should we have her, like, should we let her have an Instagram? Like, should we do that? And then she's like, because I'm kind of concerned. And then Gary's just like, puts the kibosh on it, and he's like, nope. Maybe when she's 12, maybe when she's 14, but not, I don't want her to be focused on social media. She's on this TV show. Everything about her life is always all over the place. She needs to have some privacy. I want her to be a kid. I don't want any more negative influences in her life. He says that, she's doing really well in school. She gets really good grades. She's like a very good kid overall, and he just doesn't want her to have those distractions. He wants her to just still be a kid for as long as she can without having to think about growing up and dealing with grown-up issues that come with social media. All extremely valid points. And even though Gary is sometimes rough around the edges, he does seem to make pretty good decisions when it comes to parenting Leah. She agrees, and then pretends like she didn't actually want her daughter to have Instagram. And then the producer's like, well, Amber, would you still care if she were on Instagram if she weren't on the show? And Amber's like, no, I'd probably let her have that Instagram if we were on the show. Then go to Gary's house, and Leah runs up, and like Gary's sitting on his man chair, and then Christina's sitting on the couch, because that's like literally where they always sit. And then Leah comes in and snuggles up on Christina, which is actually super cute. It's pretty clear that Christina and Leah have a really good relationship. And he explains to Leah that they're not going to let her have an Instagram. She actually doesn't really protest. She seems pretty okay with everything related to that. And he really kind of like sits her down, explains to her why it's important that she not have a social media. She really doesn't she doesn't protest, she doesn't argue. She thanks her dad after he tells her that, and they agree that they'll reevaluate it each year. Yeah, Gary, absolutely. I will have to agree with you, Chelsea. Gary sounded really annoyed by the call. Like, it almost felt like maybe the producers were like manufacturing this drama, but he had zero interest in even debating the option, and he was really just trying to shut her down. And like, you really get the sense that like Gary is the one that drives the train, is really managing her care. Him and Christina are. And that sometimes Amber shows up on the weekends. Maybe Amber's like the drunk uncle that sometimes shows up. All right, so then back to wherever they live in the South, Mackenzie is mad at Josh, and she's like talking to them on the couch, and she's like asking him like, why, this is what I heard, that you went to a bar. And he goes, and so then Josh admits like, yes, we went to a bar and they were talking with some women, but there was like no affection between any of them, but they did talk to a group of girls when they were at the bar, and she was like, well, why did you lie to me? Like, you can't lie to me about that stuff. And he told her that he did it because he avoided the fight, and then he looks down and he says that he would never cheat on her. Then Mackenzie says that she would never cheat on him, that absolutely nothing in her marriage would be worth splitting that up. No one would be worth splitting her family up to do something like that. And she asks Josh if he could just be more honest with her and share things when things happen. And he actually says to her, he can't promise that he'll do that. He can't promise he'll tell her if things happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mackenzie's dirtbag husband can't promise to tell her whether or not he goes to the bar and hooks up with women. And he's looking down the whole time. I don't even think you need to worry if your husband is cheating, Mackenzie. Your husband is putting his Peter in other people's clams. All right. And then he just says, sorry I broke the trust. All right, so then we're back to Maci. They're at the baseball tournament. Ryan shows up. He's with his parents and Mac. He's got like a massive chip on his tooth, which I hadn't noticed before. I don't know if that was new. Sometimes I notice things in their appearances. Don't get mad. It doesn't mean I'm like actually like a jerk. I just literally thought he looked like he had a chip on his tooth. Anyways, on his front tooth. And then they go back home after this, and Ryan and Mackenzie are at their house, and Mackenzie's in the kitchen like organizing 1 million jars of baby food, because I don't know why anyone would do that, but anyways. And then Ryan is on the couch and he's eating some slop, and they start talking about the baseball game and how Maci wouldn't let Jen take Bentley because Bentley had to play in another tournament the next day, and then he had to go play golf. And then Ryan's like, I don't know why she's doing so many things with Bentley. And he's literally slurring. If there's any question of whether or not Ryan is using, I thought this was a good telling part. He was a little slurry. It was sometimes like when he was talking, it seemed like he was kind of like blending his words together. And when he's not using, he's a lot more clear and concise. I have nothing to base that off of other than his speech. Home, you should just let him go home. I don't understand why she hasn't enrolled in so many things. Mackenzie, because 10-year-old boys literally will bounce around all over the house and destroy your life if you don't get them involved in things, and maybe Bentley wants to play sports. They've got the money, they've got the time. Let him play with him going off to the clinker. And then he admits that his mother is like interfering in their relationship. Maybe she had to interfere, Ryan, because you were a deadbeat dad for such a long time. And he says that every time he tries to talk to Bentley, like Jen sort of swoops in, and he can only see Bentley at his parents' house, so it's super awkward. And he's never had like the one-on-one time to actually talk to Bentley about what's going on. And then he admits that there's probably no fixing it. There's no way to there's no bother to even try. The relationship is what it is. Maci does her thing, Jen does her thing, and Ryan is like slurring again during this entire segment, and basically is proving to the world that he's continually going to be a deadbeat dad, and basically admits on national television that he has no desire to fight to improve the relationship with his son. How effed up is that? Ugh. All right, so then they go back to Cheyenne. She's bowling with Matt, and they're with their dads, and then the dads start talking about the relationship, and then Matt slips up, and he says that he's like, well, what's the best thing about you, Matt? And he's like, I actually have great integrity and good character. I'm going to leave you that for just 1 second because there's some information I've just learned about Matt. But anyways, her dad says that, Corey wasn't the best man for Cheyenne and wasn't a good mate, and he needs a mate that's going to be very good for her and, define what love is and blah, 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 blah. And then they go back and forth and Cheyenne's super uncomfortable. And interestingly, Matt actually has multiple arrests on his background. He has been charged with some felonies for doing some stuff and some domestic violence stuff in his past. So yeah, Matt, you're a man of great character. Hopefully you've learned from those experiences. Now, back to Michigan with Kate, and they are blowing out they sing happy birthday to Carly, and then Nova's and Kate goes, how old is Carly? Nova, oh my God, she's the cutest little girl. And then she talks about how they FaceTime with Carly, and Carly thinks that they have chickens and it's weird, and they light the cake, they sing happy birthday, they talk about the adoption and how weird it must be to have the birth parents have to explain it to their kids, and how they're going to just be super honest with Carly when it comes to that time. They don't want Carly to ever feel like they didn't want her, but it had to do with where they were at in their lives, and they realize the fact that they're still together and to have 2 other kids will be confusing and maybe a hard thing for Carly to understand. For everything that these 2 go through, I will admit they have a lot of foresight, and they are very good. They seem to really kind of acknowledge and are very well rooted in what they've done, what it's created, how it might affect things. They seem to think a lot about what they've done. And I think that's a good thing for both their kids and for Carly, so that none of this gets confusing in the future. It will be definitely interesting when they finally figure all of this out. Anyway, then we get back to Mackenzie, where we actually end the show. And she's meeting with her mother, and this part's actually super sad. They're at the park, and she's drinking coffee. She's talking to her mom about how, her mom and dad about what's going on with Josh, and then her dad is talking about how he doesn't want them to regret having fights, that she needs to talk to Josh when she's feeling upset, blah, 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 blah. And then she asks her mom how the treatment's going. Her mom admits that they are going to start a chemo. That's the last option. It's only offered when nothing else has worked. She's in very late stages. There's no other treatment. Nothing's worked so far. And then Mackenzie starts crying and says, I'm going to be really mad if this doesn't work and you die. It kind of reminded me of a 5-year-old pouting. I'm going to be mad if you don't live. It's a weird reaction. I would be sad. I would be angry, but I would also be sad. Not mad wouldn't be the first emotion I would go to. And then she tells her mom that her mom is the glue that keeps her life together, and that she just really doesn't know what she would do without her. So that is the episode of Follies, Father Day Follies with the Teen Mom OG. Anger is normal. I just thought it was an awkward, just the way that she said it. It didn't seem more mad for her mother, but more mad for herself. I don't know if that makes sense. And it just seemed sort of you'd have to see it. She was crying, and she sort of had this temper tantrum sort of look on her face. I understand that there is anger with death and all of that kind of stuff, but I guess if I were in that situation, anger wouldn't be the first thing I would be feeling. I'd be feeling devastated and sad. But that's just me. I know everyone grieves differently. Either way, Mama isn't doing well. And that's going to probably be a focal part of the few episodes that she's on. And she is only on for actually a couple episodes. This isn't going to be something that they do long term. And that, they said, as a part of the introduction of her. So, there you go. Episode is in the books. Amber's barely apparent. Amber's barely apparent. Kate is, celebrating birthdays. Mackenzie is still a stage 5 clinger. Ryan is absolutely relapsed at this point, at least in my opinion. I can't say for sure, but I think those photos yesterday, along with the issues of what I saw in the episode, I don't think it's looking good for Ryan. Ryan, please go back to rehab. And Mackenzie still lives in denial. Maci's everything's fine, everything's beauty, everything's great. And Cheyenne is still super boring. All right, so that's it for this week's rendition and recap. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back later this morning with more, and I definitely... Yeah, I will say, Chelsea, her mom did sort of see and understand like where she's at in her life, and her mom definitely said that she wouldn't stop fighting for her kids, and that she was going to do this for her kids. I just thought, again, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. I thought her saying, "I'm going to be so mad," was an odd reaction, but that's just me. All right, you guys, I will be back later today with some more fun topics. I did have some opinions about Tana Mongeau and Jake Paul. I don't know if you actually want an episode on that. So can you tell me if you want some in comments, and I will do an episode for you, because it's all kinds of messy this week and I got things to say. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. Bye.